if if you weren't excited watching this game, you might want to go to a doctor. You may not have a pulse. I'm not sure what we just witnessed here, but I'll say this. I put on a Columbus jersey before this game started. So there you go. And my wife will attest to that I did put on a jersey of Columbus before the game started. And I'm very excited to have this nice Adidas Columbus for this review that I did not expect to have an Adidas. Like, I bought a Tampa that I was saving for round two, and now I can save it for the jersey countdown that'll come up at a later date because Tampa's out. It has happened. The Tampa Bay Lightning, who won the President's Trophy by 1,000,000,000 points, are out in a sweep. Somewhere the 2012 Vancouver Canucks are going, whew, we are no longer the biggest choke that we've ever seen with the President's Trophy. Back in 2012, the Canucks were down 3-0. They managed to win in Game 4 before bowing out in 5. And everybody had a good guffaw at the Canucks' expense, and I didn't have a problem with that because it was earned. Now, in Tampa Bay's case, this was a complete meltdown. Now, at some points tonight, they played very, very well. The problem was off the hop right here. Texier scores a power play goal from Jones and Dubois. And can we talk about this Texier kid coming in and playing really, really quite well as a 19-year-old kid in this series? Comes over at the end of the year, gets into a couple games, and if we go back and if we look at videos I did during the summer and when I was talking about prospects, and I thought this Texier kid was putting up pretty good stats, and, I thought maybe he'd warrant a look with Columbus. I had no idea this was going to happen. Dubois then scores a goal from Bjorkstrand and Clendenning. So going into tonight's game, Dubois had 0 points. He already has 2. Those goals are 1 minute and 22 seconds apart, and it sends the Columbus crowd into a complete, total frenzy. If you were there, I might be a little bit jealous, just a little bit. Stamkos then scores from Cirelli and Kucherov, and they're really celebrating on the ice, and you even hear a little bit of swearing among the Tampa Bay Lightning with the idea of, all right, let's go. Now, after the first period, the shots are 8-7 for Columbus. No power plays for Tampa. Columbus goes 1 for 2. This game, remarkably well played. I thought remarkably clean, and I understand there's going to be fans of Tampa and fans of Columbus that complain about certain penalties that weren't called on either side. I thought it was a remarkably well-played, clean, and fast-paced game. This was some fun hockey, considering Columbus didn't really get the trap fully engaged tonight. This was a lot more up-and-down pond hockey Tampa Bay style than I think Tortorella would have wanted. In the second period, Seth Jones, who was kind of victimized on the Stamkos goal, he scores from Atkinson and Duchesne. So it makes it 3-1. And then I had to put this in here. Pierre Maguire tonight was insufferable. Insufferable because he kept trying to yell from where he was what the Tampa Bay Lightning players should be doing. He even goes over and interviews John Cooper, and he says, so down 3-0, how much do you think you should be playing Stamkos and Kucherov and Cirelli? To which John Cooper responds, when they're ready, which is your answer. And then as he's walking away from him, he's like, I think you should play him every other shift. Okay, Pierre, you're not the coach, but you could tell he was getting upset with how Tampa was playing. He was getting very visibly, I thought anyways, he was getting upset. And all I could think was, does he have money on this game? Did he bet somebody $50 before this game that Tampa would win? And now he's watching his investment fly out the window because he just seemed very upset at the way Tampa was playing. So it's 3-1 at this stage. Paquette then scores from Coburn and Ruda. And that felt like an important goal because as soon as Paquette scores, Tampa Bay started looking like themselves. They started playing very, very well. And, kudos to them. They're playing well. Here we go. And that's why I wrote on the board Tampa has a pulse, because it started feeling like Tampa was doing quite well, getting through all those trappings that they'd been suffering through for the first 3.5 games. Braden Point then scores from Stamkos and Kucherov, so Point in the top 6 tonight. Power play goal. So that's the first time he's been on a scoreboard in this series, and it's the last time he's going to be on a scoreboard in the playoffs. And that tied it up at 3. And it felt like once it was tied at 3, like, okay, Tampa's okay. I was even tweeting out during the game. And then when Bjorkstrand scored from Harrington and Dubois, I went, no, never mind. No, Columbus was not letting this one go tonight. This is the greatest moment in the Columbus Blue Jackets franchise history. They'd never won a round before, and if you're going to win a round, win big. Shots are 13 apiece through that second period. Tampa Bay scores on their only power play. Columbus doesn't have one. So the nice thing with this is, again, it felt like there were certainly players that didn't like each other in this game. And there was a little bit of stuff after the whistle, but it wasn't nearly as ugly as some of the other series. And maybe that's partly on Tampa. Maybe that's part of the reason Tampa ultimately failed tonight. In the third period, it was a very tight game. Tampa played very well. Could not beat Bobrovsky. Bobrovsky all over the place, and his defenseman making saves all over the place. And this game was Columbus's. Panarin scores into an empty net to make it 5-3. Texier scores from Werenski into an empty net to make it 6-3. And Duchesne hits an empty net to make it 7-3. Your final scoreline does not show you how close this game was. The final scoreline doesn't tell you that if not for coming out of the gate slow, Tampa wins this game tonight. I think the thing that strikes me, at no point on the Tampa Bay bench in this series did I see a fired up team. Not only that, but I understand that John Cooper is not a fired up coach. This game is worrying. Because when he's interviewed by Pierre Maguire, I will admit to this. Cooper didn't seem nearly as nervous or as worried as he should have been for a coach that's down 3-0 and down 3-1 on the scoreboard. He didn't seem... In fact, he kept saying, he's done this a couple times in the series where they interview him, and he goes, I think we're doing well right now. You think so? He's the dog in the fire. He's the dog in the fire. I think things are going pretty well right now. Are you sure? Because I don't think you're reading the scoreboard right there, Cooper. So that I can kind of understand why Pierre would have been upset. But then there was a play, I'm trying to remember who it was for Columbus that came in, and you hear Pierre going, they got to step up and challenge him. Don't just let him come in like that. Why are they letting him come in like that? And I'm like, whoa, Pierre, you're supposed to be unbiased down there. That doesn't sound unbiased at all. Yelling at the other team. And they have to be able to hear him. So, I don't think there were any handshakes for Pierre after the game. Tampa Bay did outshoot them in the third period, 13-5. Neither team had a power play in the third period. Vasilevsky saves 18 out of 22. I don't know what more he really could have done because Bobrovsky saved 30 out of 33. Bobrovsky was really solid. The handshake line after was interesting because Vasi and Bobrovsky stopped and talked to each other for quite a while in that handshake line. Bobrovsky has really been through a lot. And he's headed to unrestricted free agency this summer. And up until a couple months ago, it looked like it was going to be an unceremonious dumping onto free agency with some crappy stats. He has a whole bunch of shutouts down the stretch. Plays the best hockey of maybe his career in the first round of these playoffs. He's really redeemed himself. The interesting thing to me with Columbus is it still feels like, even though they just swept Tampa, this team could still play better offensively. There are still certain parts of their game that I think they could be better at. Now Columbus moves on. Now, if you're Toronto and Boston and you see Tampa's gone out, you now have home ice in the second round, whoever comes out of that series. If it's Toronto and Columbus, that would be a bonkers series. Absolutely crazy series. And you know what? Columbus could very well be on their way to a nice run. We never have to talk about it again that there's never been a series win for Columbus. I've been thinking about over the last couple weeks. I've got a series on the channel I did 2 years ago, which was the history of every team in the NHL, and it was done 2 moves ago. So most of it was done before I even met my wife, and I knew I needed to redo it. And this result tonight is further evidence that I need to redo that series on the history of every team in the NHL, because Columbus rewrote their history tonight. And yeah, I am unabashed in the fact that I am very happy for Columbus. I feel sad for fans of the Lightning. I do. It was an incredible run, an incredible season that will be overshadowed by this first round meltdown. All those records, all those wins, all of it means nothing. As of tonight, it means nothing. And it's harsh and it's horrible. And people will point out, and rightfully so, that the year after the Detroit Red Wings had their meltdown in '96, which was in the third round against Colorado, '97 they won a Stanley Cup. So there's some solace to take in this, but this team really, to me, the Tampa Bay Lightning need a heart transplant. And I don't mean that as a heart joke about Kucherov if he wins the Hart Trophy. I mean, this team, throughout this series, there wasn't any sense of panic from Tampa until they're down 3-1 in this game. And it felt like then they go, holy crap, we could lose. We could lose. Are you kidding? So I don't know how much of that you put on the coach. I don't know how much of that you put on the captain. I don't know where you throw that blame. But when you get beaten like this, 4 games straight, by a team that you were supposed to be able to defeat, it looks kind of bad. Now for Columbus, boy, talk about playing with house money. It doesn't matter what happens from here. This is such a good feeling. This was an unexpected run. And I can't say enough about John Tortorella and his fantastic coaching, the system that he employed at the start of this playoff series, getting all 20 players to buy into the system, never altering it, never changing it, and keeping guys like Stamkos and Point and Kucherov completely under control and frustrated. And that's the thing. When the emotions did come out for Tampa, very often it was in the form of some sort of frustration that would lead to a penalty, offsetting penalties. And there you go. So we'll see if we end up with 2 of these tonight. 2 surprising first-round sweeps. But for now, we've got the one. Tampa Bay is out. Out. So that requires a whole video all in and of itself. And I don't know if I do that soon or when I do that, but that does kind of require a video, doesn't it? This is crazy. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Columbus is dead. That comment will live on as my Pekka is just too good right now. Absolutely 100%, and it's 100% correct. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.